Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons commentary and 3 groupings of Dungeons & Dragons commentary that I think have recently emerged, okay? All right, so I'm a Dungeons & Dragons commentary person, right? So is Nerd Immersion. So is Professor Dungeon Master. By the way, Professor Dungeon Master, I just watched his latest video, and you know what he called himself? He called himself Professor Dungeon Master. Welcome back, buddy. I'm glad you're no longer Professor Direct Message. I'm glad you remembered your true name. Welcome back, Professor Dungeon Master. Okay. He's a Dungeons & Dragons commentary person, right? There's a lot of them. The Dungeon Dudes, they're Dungeons & Dragons commentary people. Ginny D, she's a Dungeons & Dragons commentary person, okay? Bob Worldbuilder, he's a Dungeons & Dragons commentary person, okay? There's others, all right. No Nat 1, right? I think he pretends to be a Pathfinder commentary. I actually think he's a Dungeons & Dragons commentary guy. He had better coverage on the 2023 Spring Dungeons & Dragons Influencer Summit than anyone. His stuff was out on time, right away, and it was organized and on point, right? So I actually think No Nat 1 is a Dungeons & Dragons commentary guy. All right, now here's what I want to talk to you about today. D&D commentators group into 3 groups, okay? And let's talk about them. Let's talk about the value of each one, okay? Here's the 3 groups: optimization, dramatization, and frivolization, okay? So what is optimization? I'll give you a perfect example of an optimization D&D commentator. An optimization D&D commentator are the Dungeon Dudes. They are going to do a breakdown of subclass. They're like, oh, here's Tasha. Here's all 12 subclasses that are in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Here's the best order of, like, this is the best subclass, and this is the worst subclass. And here's how you squeeze out 1 more D8 of damage for this spell, right? Oh, and here's the Unearthed Arcana, and here, we're going to cover it and see if it's better than the current, and is it better than the current build, right? Optimization. Getting the optimal subclass, class, background, and species build. Optimization, okay? Next is dramatization. Dramatization, who is a dramatization D&D commentator? Me, right? The story is queen, right? The story is the most important aspect, right? How to tell the best story, okay? And honestly, I will say flat out, and I know I'm going to predict it now. Somebody will come into the comments and go, Scott, you could tell a good story with an optimized character. You can't, right? Like the reality is, you're never going to take a suboptimal choice because you want to get the most damage, right? Or you want to have the most feats, or you wanted to do whatever the best, right? And your stories suck and they're boring, right? Like optimization is something some people enjoy, okay? And some people play Dungeons & Dragons to make the best build, right? And that's the juice for them. For me, the action is the juice, right? But that's the juice for them, right? But the reality is, optimization 100% goes against dramatization. The better your character is optimized, the worse your story will be, right? Because you're not willing to sacrifice optimization for a powerful, meaningful, useful story, okay? Dramatization, to me, without a doubt, the most important thing, the most important aspect in Dungeons & Dragons is the narrative, the story, okay? And so you're telling a dramatic story. And sometimes that dramatic story will have laughter. It may have tears, right? It will have emotion. There will be drama in the narrative. There will be drama in the story. So you have optimization D&D commentators. You have dramatization D&D commentators. And then finally, you have frivolization D&D commentators. People who embrace the frivolous aspects of Dungeons & Dragons. I think Ginny D is the absolute pinnacle of frivolization D&D commentating. And so what is frivolization D&D commentating? First of all, YMMV your mileage may vary, right? Oh, you have a question about what is the best way to dungeon master. I'm going to say some words, and then I'm going to say that it doesn't matter because your group is a special snowflake and you're all different, and this works for my table, but it may not work for your table. So why did I even talk? Because you could do whatever you want, right? And this is, as long as you're having fun, you're doing it right. Whatever you serve up for your table is fine, as long as you're doing it, right? And it's frivolous. It's saying there's no stakes on the game. What you're doing isn't important. As long as you're having fun, it's the same thing as if you got confetti and, and party poppers. It's just fun. Nothing you do at the table matters. There's no stakes. There's really nothing here matters, right? And you can do whatever you like, right? YMMV, your mileage may vary, as long as you're having fun. That's the point, right? Frivolization, right? And there is a market for this. There is a market for people who are like, you don't need to pursue quality. You don't need to pursue becoming a better dungeon master. You don't need to pursue becoming a better player. As long as you're sitting at the table and everyone's having fun, or even if most of the people are fun, or even if you're having fun and you could just get everybody else to say they're having fun, that's all that matters, right? Frivolization. It is a very, very, very distinct group of D&D commentators. Now, which one? Now, let's stack them, right? And here's where it gets interesting, right? To me, the best D&D commentators are dramatization commentators. They are people who are actually at the raw marrow of D&D. When you crack a bone open, the what's inside is the marrow. The marrow of Dungeons & Dragons is the story. It is the narrative. Okay, all right. They are the most valuable D&D commentators in the world. Next is optimization. Okay, there is a legitimate number of people who truly enjoy optimizing characters. There are some people who literally make characters all the time and might make 20 characters for every one that ever hits the table. And optimization is very important to them, and they really enjoy optimization, right? And so there is some enjoyment that comes out of optimization. It's second tier. It is not as valuable as dramatization D&D commentary, okay? But optimization is not the lowest, least valuable type of D&D commentary. It is in the middle, right? The least valuable commentary, D&D commentary, is frivolization commentary. I am convinced that the best way to make sure you never have fun is to seek it, right? Fun happens when you're not looking for it. Okay? And the best way to have fun is not to try to have fun. It's to do meaningful, purposeful things, and then laugh when you fail, right? Or laugh when you succeed, right? Or laugh when a nothing burger happens. Laugh when it's natural, not when it's forced, not when and I'm super, super convinced. They're like, oh, all that matters is if you're having fun. And then they attempt to have fun, and I really don't think there's any genuine fun that's had. Right? And the reality is, and I honestly believe, YMMV, your mileage may vary, don't talk, right? Like, if you're saying that what you're saying is, if you constantly are saying, oh, this is the solution for me, why do you need to give it to anybody else, right? Like, if you're always equivocating everything you say, and your mileage may vary, what is the point of even sharing it, right? Say something definitive, be right, be wrong, but say something of value. And YMMV has no value. And in my humble opinion, the frivolization D&D commentary is the least valuable of all D&D commentary. However, I will not say that it has no value. It does have some value. And one of the reasons why I feel this way is I recently realized what D&D participation is. Okay? So what is D&D participation, right? Here's a perfect example. Somebody went to see D&D Honor Among Thieves, and honestly, they were not a D&D fan, but they got the D20 popcorn bucket at AMC, right? And they took that home, and now when they watch Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, they get out their D&D D20 popcorn bucket. They're never going to play D&D. There's a good, actually, there's only a 1% chance they'll ever play D&D, right? But they are doing D&D participation. They're remembering D&D hat, right? And even like, and there are D&D shirts, right? And some people might buy the D&D shirt that has the red box dragon on it. That's D&D participation. It's not D&D play, but its value is not zero. And that's what Frivolization D&D commentary is. It's D&D participation. It's not actually useful to anybody who plays D&D, but it's not destructive to it generally, and it's not ill meant, right? I don't think it's meant to cause harm, and I think it may actually be a stepping stone for people to get onto the right path, and that path could be optimization and then dramatization. Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.